Good afternoon. You've tuned into Moneycontrol. I'm Karunya Rao. With me is Manisha Gupta, and today we'll put the spotlight on metal prices. What's happening on the global front? Why are metals across the board declining so significantly?
Oh, well, yes. The last couple of quarters have not been nice, and the previous quarter actually was put in the biggest quarterly decline that we've seen in years. If you look at the LME index itself, that fell by 25%. Copper was down by 24%. You had aluminum falling by nearly 37%. And these are the biggest declines that we've seen since 2008 to 2011. And it has been the worst quarterly decline ever when you look at metals like lead and nickel. So, yes, we are coming back from a very weak quarter, and the kind of economic data that we are working with is still on the weaker side. Markets were anticipating that once China comes back from those COVID restrictions, we will see the smart rebound in demand come back, which hasn't happened. And on the other side, you are looking at supplies continuing to increase. So even after this sell-off, even as most of the metals are in a bear territory, is it a time to buy? You still have to be convinced. With the kind of numbers, it's not very encouraging.
But what's the reason? Is it the sheer lack of demand still? Is that what's ailing the prices?
It is at this point in time. When the Russia-Ukraine war took off and the markets thought that, well, yes, aluminum and nickel are your golden metals there, because this is the supply that will not perhaps come in from Russia. But look at China, look at Indonesia. They have produced more than to fill in that gap. That is something that the markets were not ready or did not read into the lines. And when you look at the supplies itself, Karunya, markets are anticipating that, especially for copper, you're looking at 3 to 5% of an increase in supply growth. For aluminum, we're looking at anything between 3 to 5% yet again. Nickel could be up by 4%. 14 to 18% of these supplies will come in from Indonesia alone. So supplies definitely seem to be coming back right now.
So while this is definitely negative for metal companies, metal stocks as well, we've seen how they've reacted in the recent past. Good news continues for metal consumers?
It surely looks like that, because you have to look at it in two ways. One is, if we are still talking about stalled growth and recession fears in US, then we are looking at that chain reaction across. So will the demand grow so much? Maybe not. The other factor also is that 50 to 60% of many of these metals production and consumption comes in from China. So if we are looking at a global number, then also it's not very convincing. For Asian countries, it could be, if the supplies do continue to be strong, and we do see India production continue to increase as well. As far as demand also goes, those numbers should also come on, because when you're looking at 2021, and the demand was quite strong. For copper, it was up by 4 to 5%. For this year, the expectation is that the copper demand will go up only by 2 to 3%. Aluminum demand last year was up by 8%. This year, the expectation is between 1 to 2%. So we are looking at really sharp cuts in sense of demand, and this is just copper and aluminum. Every other metal that you look at, what you saw in 2021 in sense of demand growth, and what you're looking at in estimates for this year is more than half downwards.
So basically, when the geopolitical tensions started and people thought, oh, there'll be a massive shortage, did they overbuy it and overstock up? Is that what's happening now?
We've seen that as one, and two, the major concerns really are only from Europe, right? Because the production has continued just about strong in Asian countries. So many of these metals, many of these agri-commodities, whether it's Indonesia or it is Malaysia and much of China, these countries have really upped their production. So smaller companies, a Mexico and a Peru and a Chile, you have seen metal production in these countries run up quite strongly. So Europe, in sense of smelting, yes, may have seen a bit of a decline, but when you look at metal production in all of these other countries, it really has come up strongly. So well, yes, when you see a strong data coming in, like from China, we saw the cakes in manufacturing numbers come in better at 51.7. So there is a tick up that we see in metals, but that doesn't hold on. So every uptick is getting sold into, because the other numbers are not so supportive.
And that is a trend that perhaps could continue, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so for now, metals definitely look like they will stay in the bearish territory for the foreseeable future. We'll get you, of course, more updates if there are any changes, big changes in that trend. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for tuning in.